Hey, this is Scott Kokenauer, and I am so glad that you joined me today. This is Fridays on Excellence, and we are focusing on finances today. This is episode 9. Thank you for joining me. You can always find the playlist on YouTube. I also post on Facebook as well, and let's get right into things. So we're going to get right into things with the 3 coaching questions. Here's question number 1. How much debt do you have? How much debt do you have? Pretty negative question, don't you think? Secondly, what is the impact of making minimum payments instead of maximizing payments? That's the second question. The third question is, how does your household budget look like? Not how, but what does your household budget look like? As you can tell, we are talking about finances and in particular debt. And for us, as we move into the 2 pillars of excellence, I am going to show you a recording of an interview I did with Sam Kokenauer a couple of nights ago. And I want to just kind of have you join in on that. And then I'll come back and we'll wrap things up with a takeaway. So let me bring that up on the screen for you. And let's watch.
The topic that we're going to talk about here is debt. And to help me talk about that, I'm bringing on Sam Kokenauer, who is a certified financial coach with Dave Ramsey. You can see his, I'll mention to you, his email is nashfinancialcoaching@gmail.com. So if he says something that sparks an interest in you and you want to reach out and find out a little bit more about what he's talking about, feel free to do that. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
Well, so debt, what is it? You've been through the debt process, and you and your wife are now debt-free, and you're in your mid to late 20s. Took 18 months? 19?
23 months.
23 months, that's right, 23 months. And you have now become debt-free, and you haven't even turned 30 yet. So based on that experience, what are a couple of things that you want to share with the listeners about debt?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this. I know that money can be hard to talk about with a lot of people, but it is a very personal thing that needs to be talked about. And so I appreciate you having me on to talk about this. And just going along with the whole debt theme, a lot of people think that it's completely normal to have debt. You have your car loan, you have your student loans, and you think, well, I'm always going to have a car loan because I need to have the car in order to be safe on the road. Then you have your student loans. You say, well, those are normal to have student loans because I needed to get a return on my investment. You have your mortgage. You want to keep using your credit cards because you have to get that credit score up. Once you get that credit score up, then you can be able to spend more money that you don't have in order to build your credit even more.
Okay.
The big thing, go ahead.
Ouch, ouch, and ouch.
Absolutely, but these are all of the things that society tells us. You want your credit score to be up. You want to be able to do things with your money, and so you hear that debt is normal. It's normal to have debt. As long as you can manage your debt, you're good. But what happens when you end up losing your job?
Right.
You aren't able to pay off these things that you normally do, and so exactly flip the script. We want to get that mindset in our head where debt is not something that we need to be thinking is normal. We need to be weird with our money. We need to get to the point where we don't rely on having those payments all the time. Because when you free yourself from all of those payments and you don't have any debts that are really holding you down from what you want to do, your income is truly your income, where you can build and you can invest and you can do the things that you want to do with your money. Yes, it's good to have a credit score. No, it's not good to have a credit score. That's the whole thing. Everybody thinks that it's normal and you want to have a good credit score. It's normal to have your student loans. It's normal to have a nice car because you want to be safe. You can be safe in a car that you can pay cash for until you can save up to buy a car that's nicer for you. And so it's completely changing your mindset when it comes to debt.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. There may be some people listening to this and they're thinking, I have got so many debts. So I've got, say, $40 on my Macy's card, and I got $1,800 on my whatever other card, and then I got a car loan. And how in the world do I flip the script? I mean, it's a great thing to think about, but how do I take the steps? How do I get the ball rolling, so to speak?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say is you have to change your mindset. That's one of the biggest things. It's not, money is not a numbers thing. The one thing that you need to focus on more is your mindset when it comes to debt. If you feel that having student loans and a car loan and a mortgage is completely normal, then you're never going to be able to change your mindset to get to the point where you want to get those things out of your life. Because if it's normal, most people want to be normal, right? It's time to start to be weird and start to think different. And thinking different, getting yourself out of debt, thinking that I don't want to have debt in my life anymore. You see all of those different debts piled up. And one of the hardest things when my wife and I first started our journey is writing all of our debts and writing out every single one that we had and how much money we owed on each particular debt. That's a hard thing to do because you know that they're out there, but you don't know what the numbers are until you actually write them down and look at them and see, wow, I have a lot of debt that I need to take care of.
All right, so we start with listing all of the debts, get all of them down, no matter how painful it is, just get all of those debts listed out so that, because that gives you the opportunity to now see what you have to work with, right?
Absolutely. And this is where you start to create your goals. And I would challenge you, even the smallest debts that you have, like you kind of gave the example, that $40 on a card, write it on the list. Everything, every little amount counts. You want to get all of your debts listed. The second thing you want to do once you have all of those debts listed on a piece of paper is I want you to organize that. The whole thing about once you change your mindset and you decide, okay, I do not want to have any debt anymore. What's the goal? The goal is to get organized. Once you get organized, then you can create our goals and create a plan for to get out of debt. So I want you to take all of those debts that you listed, and I want you to make them from smallest to largest, saying that tiny little $40 debt that I have is going to go on top. And then way down the bottom might be your mortgage, where you have $150,000, $200,000 that you've been paying on your mortgage. And the whole concept is a debt snowball. A lot of people, this is not something that I created. This is from Dave Ramsey and his Ramsey Solutions team. It's a debt snowball where you're working from top to bottom when you go from smallest to largest. Your smallest debt is the one that you want to attack with everything that you got. All your other debts, you do not want to stop paying on those. You want to be able to continue to make your minimum payments because you don't want to go to where you're voiding all of those different debts and not staying current on all of those debts. But any additional money that you have, I want you to put on your smallest. Once that debt gets paid off, that minimum payment is gone. That debt is gone. You take a deep breath. You go, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So what do you do with that minimum payment then? You go out and celebrate?
No. You can do a little bit of celebrating. That's fine. But the next thing, I mean, you probably understand what it is now because we call it the snowball. But the next thing is to snowball that minimum payment to the next smallest step, to where you're making your minimum payments on every single one of the debts that you have listed out on paper, but you're putting any extra money, including the minimum payment that you were paying on the previous loan, to the next one. And you work your way down to the next one, and you work your way down to the next one. This is exactly what my wife and I did, and it gets to the point where that snowball is growing and growing and growing.
Okay, so breaking it down just a little bit, let's assume that my smallest debt, the one at the very top, my minimum payment is $25. And the next one down, I'm paying $100 a month. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is if I pay that top one down, that 25 gets added to the 100, and now I'm making $125 payments on that next one. And then that 125 gets applied to the 250 or the 300 that I'm paying on the third one, and so on and so on and so on. Okay.
And not only are you then building that snowball, okay, but you're getting successes along the way. You pay off that debt, and in your mind, because you changed your mindset to say that debt is not something that I want to be a part of, I don't want to do it anymore. Then when that debt comes out and you can cross that off your list, in your head you can think, I will never have to send that person money again. Because if I'm going to buy something from that particular company, I'm going to have the money to pay for it in full. And you're changing that mindset. Again, you've decided in your mind that you want to be different and you want to be weird with your money.
Mm-hmm.
When
So
you get those debts and you're paying them off, you're going to see the success as you work your way down the debt cycle.
right. So if a person is listening and they've got, say, 8 separate debts that they have, ranging from what a small amount to a large amount, that then becomes your roadmap, right? That's with built-in milestones, right?
Absolutely. And you get excited when you see those debts going on. And the thing is, a lot of people, when they see their debt, first off, they normally don't like to write it down because they don't want to see it on paper. They don't want to see how much they owe. If you can get the person to write it down and see, wow, I owe a lot of money, and you get them to organize from smallest to largest, they look towards the bottom of that list and they see this massive loan, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a student loan, whether it's a car loan, and they see $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 loan, and they go, I will never be able to pay that off.
Yeah.
You're changing the mindset. You've paid off the first one, you can do it again. You paid off the next one, you can do it again. And not only has your mindset changed to where you feel empowered to be able to pay off those loans, but you have now snowballed all of those minimum payments to where you get towards the bottom of your list and you're going, I'm putting how much towards that payment? When I only need to put $300 towards that, I'm putting $1,200 towards that. And that's really what you want to see change.
Yeah, and when you're making that larger payment, then you're actually speeding up debt payments. You're speeding up the debt-free journey, right? So you're going faster. Sam, this reminds me of a concept that James Clear brought up in his book Atomic Habits, where 3 concentric circles, a middle circle, an inner circle, middle, and out. And I won't go into the details, but basically what you're saying is what he was saying as far as decide the type of person you want to be and then prove it to yourself with small wins. Instead of saying, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by going on a diet so that I can feel good about myself, I'm going to start with, I'm a healthy person, so what would a healthy person do? And then make decisions in the moment based on the kind of person that I choose to be. And so what you're saying is I choose to be weird with my debt, and I'm going to prove it to myself one debt at a time. That's beautiful.
And it's exciting when you start to tackle your debt snowball and you're making those minimum payments on everything and you're attacking that first one. You almost get empowered more than you ever think you'd be able to. And you go, how can I make a little extra money so that I can get this debt done quicker? And you start to put time limits on every single debt that you're working on. And you get to the point where it's like, by the end of this month, this debt is going to be completely gone no matter what I have to do. If I have to pick up extra shifts, if I have to go sell something that I don't use and it's just sitting at home, whatever you need to do in order to get those debts out of your life, you start to kind of push yourself because you're getting those successes, those little successes at the beginning. You're getting those, and you're starting to build not only the snowball of the minimum payments, but you're building a snowball mentality where I can do this, I am doing this. I'm not just thinking about doing this, but I can do this because I'm doing it right now, and I'm proving that I'm paying off of those debts. So it's exciting. I get really, really excited talking about this because we had such a great experience paying off our debt that I almost want it more for people than they really want it for themselves, because I see people with debt and it's like, I know that you can do it. I know that you can do it. You have everything that you need right now to do it. You just got to get yourself into a plan and work the plan and decide for yourself what you want to be and who you want to be when it comes to your money.
That's beautiful. So recapping, we're talking about debt. And the first thing is flip the script on what is standard issue when it comes to debt. You don't have to have debt. You don't have to have a high credit score. You can be out of debt. And then secondly, the practical thing is list every debt out there, no matter how it makes you feel, get it out on paper because it's the path toward freedom. And then sort that from small debt to large debt and then start working your way down. That's beautiful. Sam, thank you for joining us. Those of you who are listening, who have been listening, and maybe it sparked a little bit of hope for you, and you want to ask a few more questions. I encourage you to check out Sam. Send him an email, nashfinancialcoaching@gmail.com. And this has been an exclusive interview from Serving Strong, talking about the art of excellence, and in regard, especially to financial excellence. Have a great day, and let's take care of that debt.
Okay. We're going to go right into the takeaway now. And basically, it's pulling from what you just heard on what you can do with your debt. Assume for the moment that you have flipped the script and now believe that your number one priority is to eliminate debt for your financial excellence. Once you have that, here's the steps for the takeaway. List all of your debts. And at this point, be as inclusive as you can. Get as clear a picture as you can. Be completely honest with yourself. Sort them by amount, with the smallest at the top and the biggest at the bottom. And then begin the journey of paying the one off the top, taking what you were paying to pay that off, and add that to the second one down, and then pay that off and take that payment and add it to the payment that you're making on the third debt, and keep adding, keep going, keep going. You've just heard someone who has gone through it in 23 months, and they paid off all of their consumer debt, all of their debt. And just imagine coming to the end of all those debts and looking at the payment, that big chunk of payment that you now have for yourself. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful thing to be doing. And so I want to thank you for tuning in today. I hope that your financial excellence is all that it could be, because without financial excellence, you are unable to be the fullest expression of your unique God-given design. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next week.